Welcome back to the show. I'm Sarah Levenger. This is Nate Lagos, and we're here to talk about whatever we feel like talking about today. Welcome, Nate, co-host official. How does that feel?
Good.
Did it change anything for you?
Yeah, I feel good. I sleep better. I'm very excited to be a official co-host of the second best new marketing podcast out there.
The culmination of all of your career dreams.
Yep.
I don't know if second best is accurate because I saw a poll this week that would state the opposite. You shouldn't have ran that, man.
All right, Sarah, what do you have for me today?
Spiciness. We are going to dissect something that I found on your website that I'm a little upset about. Your website. Okay. Originalgrain.com, because you are like fancy guy at the top for this awesome brand that sells these really cool watches that are made of reclaimed whiskey barrels. You also have ones I didn't realize you guys did guitar wood.
Yep.
And like hard railroad ties. I didn't know you did that either. Like forest firewood. You guys got all these really cool watches. Anyways, I digress. So found something on here that I find really interesting because every single brand I audit has this, and I didn't think about this one for your guys' brand. Your prices all end in 9.
Yep.
Is there a reason for that?
We have tested it against ending in 5.
Okay.
And it produces a higher profit per session, which is our North Star metric we look at when we price test.
Interesting.
So everything's like we've tested, prices all over. But the ending is always 79, 49, 99. And we've tested those against, 45, 75, and 95.
Okay. Have you tested 7s?
Ending in the number 7, we have not.
Okay. Interesting. The only reason I asked this, well, there is some like deep psychology stuff that I'm going into about the psychology of price, right? Like how to influence people with numbers. And this comes up a crap ton with every single brand I audit. It's almost always ended in a 7 or a 9, almost every single time. And just based upon the research that I'm doing, I think this is kind of an outdated psychology tactic, is to end in 7 or 9s.
Yeah, like everyone knows it's just the next number up.
Yes.
Like if you price anything at $495 or $497 or $499, everyone's like, that's $500 because they know they're going to get to checkout and they're actually going to spend $540 anyway.
Yep. Yeah.
That's how online shopping works. But what do you think we should do? Because I'll test a bunch of stuff. Now, I can tell you we've had a core collection of watches that's been priced at $199 for a long time.
Okay.
The latest price test we ran, 2091. So going
209 over 199?
Yeah.
That doesn't shock me. Interesting.
Like, rate did not drop, margin increased, so profit per session, revenue per session all increased.
Yeah.
So like that kind of takes the psychology out of like, oh, we're trying to say it's less than $200 when it's not. Yep. But no, we've never really messed with that last number.
Okay. So this is where I want to get like deep into this. So technically what you're using is something called charm pricing, right? So this is like a psychology tactic where the end of your price always ends in a 7 or a 9. Now, charm pricing doesn't always work depending on the use case of your product. So if you have a utilitarian product, changing your prices to a different end number does something different if you have like a hedonic product where it's specifically straight pleasure focused. You guys have a pleasure focused product because you're in the watch jewelry space. So I want to see if we can run some tests in the next couple of weeks before Black Friday.
I'll set it up right now. What do you want?
Well, okay. Oh, real-time testing. Okay, here we go. So let me pull up the last one that I did. This one talks about precise, non-rounded prices tend to increase purchase intention. Precise, non-rounded prices increase purchase intention for products that are hedonic in nature, like pleasure-focused in nature.
Precise, non-rounded prices. What does that mean?
Non-rounded prices. So instead of saying, where's your pricing page? Instead of saying like $249 or whatever it is, you would say like $249.70. So you'd add the tax on here. I don't know that would do much for your brand, but that's specifically what this study was trying to prove, is whether you add like a precise number on the back end of your price.
I think Shopify rounds.
Yeah, I don't know if you can add a
I don't even know if you can add sense to a price hike.
All right. Well, then we're going to have to wait on that test because I don't know if you can actually do that. Okay, secondary test I want you to run, and this is something that I found interesting. I read it in the Handbook on Pricing Psychology. Yep. The Handbook on the Psychology of Pricing. There we go. So this was like 100 different effects on persuasion and influence that every entrepreneur, marketer, and pricing manager needs to know. This is by Dr. Marcus Huesman Kopetsky. If you wanted to know, I'll link it in the show notes if you want to read this one. I actually read this one over the summer, last summer, and it was phenomenal. Like the amount of pricing tests that this book references is a lot. So one of the things that they were showing was for products that are in kind of pleasure-focused industries, a 4 or a 6 tends to produce better results than a 7 or a 9 at the end.
The last digit?
At the last digit, yeah. So the interesting part is you could take this up from like your Koa guitar one, from a 329 to a 334.
And see what happens.
It's supposedly, according to the science of it, it's supposed to increase conversion rates and purchase intention.
The most narrow we've ever gotten is testing like 495 or 499, but always ending in that 5 or 9. And then typically our tests don't get like less than like a $10 increment because our AOV is 300. But I'm definitely down to do that. Our method is we price test as we approach Q4. Like the first round of tests we'll run on November 1st are going to be big gaps, like $50 gaps of like we'll test 199, 229, 249, just to kind of like get a sense of like where's the market at, where are the consumers at. That test, I know it's not going to give me the final answer, but directionally will tell me where to go next.
Yeah.
So then if 229 wins, we'll go 219, 229, 239. And then typically I go with that one. But we've never gone as deep into like 233, 234. I mean, I'm down. Like
fascinating to do those type of tests.
Especially this time of year, like adding $1 of profit every order, assuming CAC doesn't change, conversion rate doesn't change. Like it's actually impactful when we're doing many
massively so. I see a lot of brands doing heavy swings with price testing. So they'll bump it by $10, $20, $30, $40. They're not trying to go for, let's switch it from a 7 to like a 6 or like upwards to the next.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, we always end ours.
You don't need to add much.
2 rounds of testing, like big gaps, and then narrow it down to the smaller. And we usually call it there. But no, this Q4, I'm down to get super granular.
Yeah, I think it'd be really interesting to test those two because there's obviously like it doesn't seem like much because you're only increasing your prices by what, $7. But as you said, like increasing AOV by $7 across the board is going to be massive for revenue, especially in that particular period of the year. So according to like all of the different like psychology studies that I was reading, charm pricing, this like 7 to 9 tends to work best for like mass market products or discounted focused kind of industries. It doesn't work well for luxury or premium products, services or high-end goods, or markets where consumers are going to be highly price sensitive because it causes skepticism at 7 or 9.
That's interesting.
So I'm like, oh, can you test this 4 and a 6 for me? See what it does?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll do.
Because I was so fascinated.
What do like high-end watch brands do?
Well, that's a good idea. Let's look up that. While you're doing that, Scotty asked a question. What's the difference between pricing psychology versus discount psychology? Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a really good question.
There's a lot.
There's a lot. There's a large amount of it. Discounts are perceived different depending on what color they are, depending on where they're situated on the page, depending how big the font is that you're using to represent that discounted number, and then depending on how big the mathematical discrepancy is between the discount and the original price. So when it comes to discount psychology, a couple things that you can do specifically for male-focused audiences, put it in red. Red is like a really visceral color for dudes. They've done a few studies on this as well. They respond a little bit more if the color is in red. Apparently it doesn't work for women or children, just guys, which I find kind of funny. But opposite of that, like we just said, make sure that your discounted price is listed to the, I have to get this right. To the right? Yeah, that's what I had. Okay. I have to read that study again. Make sure your discount price is listed to the right of your original price because again, just based on which number you see first, it's going to change the perception of the actual discount. And then last, I would say for discounts, you have to make sure that the last digit matches the digit of the original discount. So I don't want to see any of these
Right.
like we're
Because people
discounting
can't do that
from
math easily.
yes. I
Yeah.
see this all the time. We're discounting from 249 down to 172 and I'm like, I can't do that mental math very quickly. Make it stupid simple. Don't make people do math. So I want to see a 249 to a 149. I don't want to see it like randomly drastically different. So another question for Scotty. Are there rules around percent off or dollar off? Yes, there's some psychology behind this as well. Good rule of
Can I
thumb, which
guess?
yeah, you want to guess? What's
Yeah.
the
I think
psychology?
you're always supposed to say the bigger number.
The bigger number? What do
So
you mean?
if 30% off your product is only $20 off, you should say 30% off. But
I
like,
would agree.
oh,
Sort of.
okay.
Okay, so I would agree to a point. Um, there is a threshold though. Anything under $100, you need to use a dollar off amount in your discount.
Oh,
So it needs to be $10 off, $20 off because the mental math is easier. Anything above $100, and again, this is just like a rule of thumb. There's some studies on it, but this is more like anecdotal, basically. Anything above $100, I'd say use a percentage off discount because it, like you said, it appears bigger.
oh, so we're the anomaly then.
Oh, okay, that's interesting because
'Cause
you guys use a dollar off amount.
our sales are typically called up to $100 off, which on most of our products is
Oh,
30%. And we've split tested that pretty heavily, both in
okay.
ads and our website. And
Cool.
$100 off always beats 30% off.
Okay, can I ask? Can I ask if you think this is because your particular demographic of customer understands dollar off amounts more than percentage off amounts?
Could be.
Yeah,
I think it
'cause
sounds bigger.
interesting.
Saving $100 sounds cool.
Yeah,
It sounds like that's a huge amount of savings, where I think
yeah,
the digital ad landscape is so saturated with everyone saying 30% off. We
yeah,
get to say something that not many other brands can because of our price point. I think that kinda
yeah.
helps cut through a lot of the noise. We could say
Did
up to
you
$100 off. Most e-com brands
yeah,
AOV is not $100.
very true.
So,
Very true.
I think it just stands out in a sea of ads that are gonna be claiming 20, 30, 40, 50% off, come Black Friday.
Yeah. Well, and here's an interesting thing too, because if we go on Breitling's website, the watch
Yeah,
that
you're a
I'm
bright
currently wearing, we're going on to Breitling's website. Granted,
That's why
they're
Original
a
Grain won't sponsor this podcast, by the way. It's your fault.
I'm sorry. Touche, touche. I can get Breitling to sponsor us. It's fine. Anyways, so Breitling watch is the one that I currently wear. Granted, they are in a completely different group of consumers, so their prices are a little bit higher than your guys' prices. However, their prices are rounded with non-charm pricing. So the women's watches are like 7,300, 2,200, whatever it is, like $1,000, right? But they end it all in zeros.
Yeah,
So
I'm on.
I personally think your $100 discount hits better because of the consumer market you're in,
Yeah.
which is interesting.
Well, we're so much more accessible than most watch
Yeah,
brands out there.
I would agree with
Like,
that.
I'm on Tag's website right now. Their prices are 1,600 even,
Even numbers.
1950 even,
In general, here's the interesting part that we're noticing about your industry as we pull up prices, and this is the reason why I do competitor research for a couple different brands when I'm doing like good creative strategy work for ads and things. Half the time I have to go in and do product pricing work before we do anything with ads for this reason alone. We're so kind of like capped in our own ecosystem sometimes that we
Yeah.
don't tend to test things that are outside of the industry norm. So, good tactic for anybody listening to this today. Go test something other than charm pricing, 7 and 9. I want you to test 4 because it's pretty close to 5. And I want you to test 6 because it's pretty close to 7. Don't test 8. 8 doesn't usually work from a psychological standpoint, mostly because it's too close to 9 and you're going to see conversions be wonky a little bit. Test a 4, test a 6 this week because it'd be really interesting to see what happened there. And then for you, after you test a 4 and a 6, I would love to see you guys test whole numbers.
She's like 200, 250, 300.
250, 300, yeah, 240, 270, 280, whatever it is.
I'm with it.
Just round it to that zero number and see what happens. Oh, this is going to be a good test. We might
Yeah.
have to have like a follow-up pricing psychology episode to see what
Yeah.
happened.
Well, and let me kind of zoom out all the way here.
Yeah.
Testing prices has been the single most impactful thing we've done in the last year.
I would agree.
Like
Yeah.
I have been hung up on this idea a lot of price market fit. And I don't
Yeah.
think anyone thinks about it. Everyone's after product market fit, but I think such a big piece of that is what the price is. And like the
Yes.
example that I always give is like I drink 1 to 4 Red Bulls a day, and I buy them for like
A day.
$2.70 a piece.
Woo!
And I think I'd buy a Red Bull like up to $9. But if it was
Wow. Okay.
$20 for a Red Bull, I would never buy one. Like I would just find a different way to get caffeinated. And I think people assume that their e-com brand should be priced similar to competitors or similar to other products in their industry, but they probably haven't tested this either.
Yeah.
Like you're just copying someone that probably copied someone that copied someone. I am such a big fan of like, go test your prices for real, drop your ego about what you think your products are worth. Because we've seen in the last year, lower prices, to be honest, lower prices that we were comfortable with have won.
Yeah.
But profit per site visitor and profit per order are now going up so much that like we're unlocking massive growth. And now because we're moving so many more units, we're getting a better deal. So our COGS are down and we get more product going out into the market that people are asking about and showing people. So yeah, drop your ego at the door and go test what your prices actually should be, not what you want them to be.
100%. Or just hire Nate. Just hire Nate to come in and do all that for your brand.
It's gonna be a lot. I just bought a farm, so it's gonna be
Nate needs the money. Okay, where can people find you? We're going to end it right there because holy cow, this was a really good episode of diving into some of these different things. Where can people find you if they want to follow you, co-host?
I also host the Tactical and Practical podcast, where each episode I dive into a single tactic that I use to grow brands profitably. And you can find me on Twitter, LinkedIn, wherever else, at Nate Legos.
Whoa. Okay, you can find me, Sarah Levenger, at Sarah Levenger, basically everywhere you consume content. I'm trying to produce more content. Some of those places might be slow in like ramping up, but producer Scotty is crushing it. Shout out to producer Scotty, produces all of my episodes. He's a killer in space. Also like getting all of my social media clips. Thank you. You're a gem. We love you here, producer Scotty. Otherwise, have a great week, everybody. This was a good one.
The Brain Driven Brands podcast is part of the Learn and Laugh series on the Quickfire Podcast Network.